Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have been a part of our journey for the last several years. So thank you, Folgers. We couldn't do it without you, nor would we want to. Also, big shout out and thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind the Largos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Specializes in the Halloween and horror genre and does amazing commission pieces of any type. So, whichever platform you are all on this evening, we are on 8 platforms simultaneously. Please like, subscribe, share, comment. The only platform that doesn't have a chat room, of course, is Roku TV. But you can watch and enjoy the show regardless. Tonight, I welcome the return of Stephen Bassett. Who else you have on when you talk about disclosure, aside from the man who's been spearheading this forever? Anyway, he has spoken to audiences in 20 countries at least about political implications of UAP, ET phenomena, disclosure. He's the co-founder of Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, executive director of Paradigm Research Group. And tonight we're going to be getting into an in-depth discussion, and again, who better to do it with, on the latest disclosure. So looking forward to hearing his thoughts on that. And, maybe towards the end of the show, we'll squeeze in a little bit about the Disclosure Day film, which everybody is on about. And I'm being asked about it. I haven't seen it. And with everything going on, I don't know if, I'm kind of just waiting to see what everyone else has to say about it. A lot of mixed feelings. Anyway, I see the chat room. Hello. Hi, Wayne. Hi, Patsy. Hello, Heidi. So it's just sit tight, get your questions ready, and comments as well. I will periodically put them up and go from there. So again, all these different platforms. If I don't get to questions right away, just know that I will. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming our special guest, Stephen Bassett.
There's a microphone.
Oh, hello.
Okay, no problem.
Hello. Can you hear me? Can you see me? You're here. Hi.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear me? That's got to be from you. And can you guys all hear me? Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Okay, I'm not really sure. I'm just going to find out if everybody else can hear me. I don't know. Can you guys all hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Apparently, they can hear both of us. So, they can hear us both. I don't know. I really don't know what to.
Got it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, good. I'm checking every button I have. Okay. Hallelujah. Welcome. So, really looking forward to your opinion on all of this. I'll just cut to the chase. You've been the one spearheading this for, years and years and years. And you have been in Congress. You have been talking to anybody. You have large events. You speak all over the world. What haven't you done to spearhead this? Is it everything you thought it would be?
Oh, now. Sure. I mean, 30 years in. Yeah, it's about to happen. It's a little would have preferred sooner.
Yeah.
But that's not the way history works. So I'm just thrilled that I'm still here and this is about to break worldwide. So get ready to party.
Wow. Okay, they're doing this in stages. And I'm sure it's selective. I'm sure they're holding a lot back. Are you in agreement with what you've been seeing so far?
Of course, they're holding a lot back. They're holding about 99% of it back. It's not
Yeah.
like it's not about holding back or not holding back right now.
Yeah.
They are releasing files for the first time ever under a presidential directive. They've release files from off and on. They threw out a bone here and there, going back years, 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
All to keep things cool, keep the waters calm, but the truth embargo continued. But of course, what's going on now is the full engagement of the policy, which is a lie, to by Congress, by press, by citizens, witnesses, military, the whole nine yards. It is all closing in on the truth embargo managers, and they're not just capitulating. However, we're at a place right now where the president could disclose tomorrow, and nobody's going to be particularly shocked about it, which is why I think it could happen tomorrow. Right. However, the world is still a little complicated, still quite dangerous.
Yeah.
But again, there's no barrier anymore. It used to be a barrier, clear barrier, and you had to jump it. You say, I can't jump that. Now there's no barrier. So if it happens tomorrow, it wouldn't surprise me. If it happens in 2 weeks, I'm happy. 3 weeks, a month, doesn't matter. Disclosure is about to happen. That's what's important. It took 80 years to get to this point. There were competent people saying that we had bodies in a crashed vehicle all the way back in the late 1940s. But national security, nuclear arms race, the threat of nuclear weapons use, all of that, plus just further imbalance amongst the world. Policies were made, decisions were made, and 80 years later, we still haven't had this confirmed. But now it's about to happen, and I couldn't be more thrilled.
Well, congratulations. I feel really compelled to say that because I don't know. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that have been wanting this, but you've been on the show so many times, and I know you have been hardcore at this. It's been, a passion, and you've just been so diligent about it. So the fact that you're even getting this to me is amazing. But you called it on the last show with Donald Trump releasing fairly soon from the time you were on, which I think was like September, if I'm not mistaken. So you pretty much within a few months.
Well, we've been heading there for 9 years now, starting in October 17. And while I've always talked about the prospects of disclosure going back to the beginning, back in the 90s when I started, but this is different now. This is the confirmation of the process that is leading to disclosure, and it's well-defined, well-known, massively covered worldwide in its scope, essentially. And everything that we needed to happen is happening. In fact, everything has happened really that you would expect, except the last thing, which is disclosure from the president. And he can do it tomorrow. On the other hand, I should point out, as I have 1,000 times, we're there. So if the president chooses not to disclose, that's his business. But he may be prepared for another head of state. Could be the Prime Minister of Canada. Prime Minister of Denmark.
Yeah.
Right? Or Putin. Double.
Yeah.
And he's second fiddle. He's clean up, right? And the legacy's gone. It goes to that head of state. So he has an important decision to make, as do his advisors. And I have now talked about this now for 3 or 4 years, only more emphatically now, on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of podcasts. I don't get a News Nation. I'm being blocked there. Don't know why. However, I still get out plenty of action on plenty of places. So I hope that at least somebody's talking to them.
Yes. Well, a lot of people are coming forward. There, you have those in agreement. You have those who are on a whole different page with it. I think Lou Elizondo basically said that government documents which confirm all of these UAP incidents have been recorded since the 40s, and they are indeed, real. However, FBI documents, on the other hand, mention mysterious entities and things that, plasma beings, sentient plasma beings. That seems to be a really big one. And again, Lou Elizondo says, that's just something that the government has been covering up. I mean, you're including the non-human intelligence in all of this. Did you expect that to go along with the UAP disclosure? Was that kind of like a bonus, or did you expect it?
Look, disclosure, the only disclosure I'm interested in is not disclosure of a UAP or a plasma being or whatever. That's not the disclosure I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That is the revealing of, the acknowledgement of. I'm talking about the confirmation, the political act of confirming the presence of these ETs, living and dead, and their craft, intact or wrecked, whatever, by the head of state. That is disclosure, capital D. My term, I set it up in 2002.
Yeah.
It's a capital D. It's a proper noun. Mm-hmm. Small d disclosure is another. It means something else. So this is politics, and that's a political term, and that's all I'm interested in. And that's now this turning up and this being revealed. Everything is kind of part of the process of getting there.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of things that are part of the process of getting there. And until the last 9 years ago, the process was relatively incomplete. But starting then, it started to fill out. And now, essentially, it's a full bore, how would you say, a legal a process, or legal or legislative process that sets the president up to do it. I mean, it can't come from the head of the National Science Foundation. It can't come from an astronaut. It can't come from a war hero. Right. It has to come from the head of state, because the head of state has the highest classification level and is the commander-in-chief of the military. And once it comes to the head of state, all the doors are basically unlocked to be opened by the appropriate people at the appropriate time, which would be soon. And so everything we've learned to date, great. I assure you it's a tiny fraction of what we're going to learn after disclosure occurs.
Right. So all of this that's being released, you still need the president to say, pretty much come forward and vocalize his confirmation that, yes, this is a thing. I believe it. I
don't believe it. I know it.
I know
it. I confirm it. And it can be done in a speech. It could be done in a presidential directive. Both.
Yes.
All right. Either way, the moment it comes from the president, that's it. That's disclosure. And then you can count the days until some other heads of state jump in, thus validating our president, if anybody has any doubts. And we're in the post-disclosure world. And we can't get there soon enough because we're reaching the limits of our capability to keep this plane flying.
Yes. No, I agree with you. I think people have been wanting it, and people are really, everybody, like I said, everybody's got an opinion. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert had said that her private classified UFO briefings are far more interesting than the UFO files that the public are getting.
Of course.
So she calls it basically underwhelming.
But that's not a bad thing. In other words, she can get that. We can't yet.
Yes.
All right. And so I'm not asking anybody to suddenly grab some files, rush out the back door of the Pentagon, and head to the Washington Post. That's not going to end well for them, and it's not the way we want to run the government. So it's okay. As long as we're moving in the right direction and we're moving in a place appropriate to what we know and what is happening. And we are now. We're moving in a very good pace. So good that it's almost impossible to keep up with it.
Right. So basically, when the people are asking, is it worth all of the hype?
Is what worth the disclosure event or the whatever?
I guess everything leading up to it. I think a lot of people, including news media outlets, expected something more than. I mean, to me, I agree with you. Something is absolutely better than nothing, and you have to start somewhere. For those who are experiencers, they'll say we didn't really need it, but why is it so important? And I know we've talked about it, but for anybody who's listening tonight, maybe who hasn't been, there's a lot more interest now that disclosure, everything leading up to it is actually out in the forefront. Why is it so important that this formal disclosure happen?
That you do understand is a 5-week seminar
Yeah.
Right. This is the biggest event in human history that's about to take place. And so, well, why is the biggest event in human history important, right?
Yeah. But
So
the people don't understand. Not everybody follows this stuff.
I understand that. So I have to make it extremely simple.
Yes.
Cut to the chase.
Yes.
And then I'll be accused of like oversimplifying, right? But whatever. Point is that it is not an accident that the ETs it escalated a massive engagement of the planet and allowed themselves to be seen not long after the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs were dropped. That this activity, deliberately or simply through probability, resulted in some crashes, particularly the one at Roswell, which confirmed the ET presence and their craft to people on the ground, so forth, as well as President Truman. 1947, July. Yeah. So, bingo. Now we're in a new time. The government had a choice to make. To tell the world this and start exploring it and doing what you can and keep people apprised. They chose to go the other direction. So, now, did they know when they did that how bad or how good the decision would be? No, it'd be impossible. But they did know some things, right? Here's what they did know. The craft that they had and the technology they had was superior to ours. The ETs didn't look like us, but they were similar and clearly not human and almost certainly from another planet. They knew that, which is cool. They also know that the Soviet Union was going to be testing both an atom bomb and a hydrogen bomb. They were building missile systems, of course. So were we. And that they were not particularly enthralled with the United States. We beat the Germans together, but it was like, okay, fine, we're done that. Now let's start looking at each other, right? And see, who's going to make the first move.
Yeah.
So they're smart people back then. Even in World War II, they're pretty accomplished. And so they concluded not only was there going to be major tensions between Soviet Union and United States with China as a wild card, but they're going to be nuked up with missiles. And therefore, unless we could achieve a detente, we could achieve a new understanding, have some nice treaties, whatever the hell, we were headed to a nuclear arms race. Weapons races is what human societies do. I mean, they're always in a weapons race with somebody, and this would be the most dangerous of all time. And they had no idea how far it would go, how fast it would advance, and how powerful the bombs would get, but they knew it was not going to be good. And so they made a not unreasonable decision. It is not time to tell people about this, because that would make dealing with this other thing a little more complicated and could create and then there would be clear unknown unknowns in a post-disclosure world in 1947, 8, 9, 50, 51, 52. And so and you know how they are about unknown unknowns. Thank you, Rumsfeld. So they decide that we're just going to sit on this and deny it, avoid anything that could really cause a problem, and suppress information, whatever it took, just kind of sit on it for a while. They didn't know how far that would go. I don't really criticize them too hard. If I were in that situation, I might have done exactly the same thing. However, what happened is it turns into an ingrained policy that literally travels in a sidecar to the motorcycle that was a nuclear arms race. And the faster the motorcycle went, the faster the sidecar went, until they were virtually wed together. And the first opportunity to really consider changing that and bringing this out was after the Cold War ended, late 1980s, early 1990s, and actually something sort of got underway in 93 at the Clinton administration. Before it could get any teeth, those that thrive and enjoy nuclear weapon standoff and basically war in general had already brought on Cold War II. And it got shut down again. But a lot had been out of the bag by then. A lot of things were known by 93. And so this next run from 93 forward was much tougher and had to deal with massive paradigm changes in communications, availability, reach, satellites, internet, all of this stuff. Still trying to keep a secret, right? Of this magnitude. And so that is essentially the quick history of this.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that disclosure must take place, and put as simply as it could be, that the nuclear arms race and the traditional ways that nations are dealing with each other and all of the wars they keep having, non-nuclear, have brought us to the point where we either change course or we're done. We're going to have that nuclear war that has been in countless sci-fi movies, sci-fi series, on and on and on and on and on. So it's going to be much worse than it is in the series usually. We're going to have it. It'll be a depopulation thing. It will reduce some stress on the planet. It will make a lot of it radioactive. It'll be a substantial waste of resources. It'll be cataclysm is what it will be. And so we can't have that happen. And many people, including myself, have concluded that the only thing that prevents the first thing from happening is ending the other thing from continuing, which is the truth embargo. End the truth embargo, enter the post-disclosure world, rethink how we conduct our affairs, rethink our international relations, our politics, and a lot of other things, and how we treat each other and the planet, and we can get through this. Don't have disclosure, we're going to have a nuclear war. I mean, it could be tomorrow. It could be a month from now. I assure you, it could be like that. And we've been reminded about that with films and movies, one of which was actually, produced by the Obamas, right? And so forth and on and on and on and on. Yeah. So that's the simple dynamic of why we have to have disclosure or a nuclear war. Paradigm clock at midnight, doomsday clock at midnight, which is a metaphor I came up with along. I even had a clock. It was designed by a good friend of mine, Jim Boca. And I'm very fond of that clock. So that is the simple way to explain something that 20-part series in the future, which I would love to produce one of those. You just need 10, 15 million. We'll try to explain to future Americans.
Yeah, that's a tough pill to accept, I guess. When people think, I mean, those who know, right? Those who follow. But if you said to somebody who is just coming onto the scene because, there's this disclosure thing. And of course, I think the film came out at the same time. So now people we're getting new ears, new eyes, new ears who are
hundreds of millions of new ears.
Yes. So when you say, when you talk nuclear war, if we don't have disclosure, this is pretty much what's going to happen. What do you say to somebody who's just coming on for the first time going, well, this is a little extreme, don't you think?
And there's a lot of things in this world that are extreme, but are true.
Yeah.
Right. So the measure of truth is simply a qualifier. What's extreme to one person is like no big deal to another. I don't argue or debate with people on these such things. I let them figure it out in their own good time. I say what needs to be said. I advise as I'm asked. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if I'm right and we don't do this, then boy, are we in for a tough couple of centuries.
Yeah, a couple of centuries, no less. Yeah, Rochelle says, hard pill, definitely, but I try to remember it's always darkest before the dawn.
I like the phrase, it's always darkest before it goes completely black, but that's a whole nother perspective.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, for sure. So, the things that are being disclosed are definitely events, situations, whatever you want to call it, that Congress knows about, that is under basically their oversight. But what do you do? Because there have been, people coming forward and saying, look, there are things going on here that evade congressional oversight from the private defense contractor networks and that sort of thing. Do you think that there's a lot more than meets the eye, like things that we may never know, that you have people outside the government who are sort of in control?
There's some things we'll never know. And there's a huge amount that's not on proper, that should be an oversight that isn't.
Yeah.
And so let's increase the oversight.
Yeah.
Right. And the truth embargo. Expand what is already in place in the UAP Disclosure Act and continue what is already underway in a limited scope, the bringing forth of information for full public scrutiny through a process. Meanwhile, the Congress knows a lot more than we know because they have certain classification levels, that they're not just blabbing those out. People are following pretty much the rules as much as possible. There's no need to break them now. There's no need to throw yourself on the fire and get attention. Just keep putting out and dealing with the issue under the law and within the levels of classification. That is more than enough to set it already has set the president up to disclose tomorrow. And most people go, wow, I thought maybe something was going on. I had no idea. Or, oh my God, that's really cool. Whatever. The president could do it tomorrow. But what's going to go forward that will make it even easier and easier for the president and other heads of state to do it is being done in an orderly fashion. So I'm not upset. There are members of Congress that know a lot more than you or I know because you and I don't have the classification level.
Yeah. Yeah. I know Dr. Stephen Greer basically just came forward and said that members of Congress quietly confirmed to him that the secret UFO program was run by corporations who were above the government.
I wouldn't use that term.
Yeah, that was his term. Yeah,
it's like
that's Mr. Dr. Greer.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying I wouldn't use that term.
Yes,
they are outside
yeah.
of the government in some ways. Now, they are not all completely outside. The government has lots of influence on corporations of various ways, and particularly defense contractors. But the government decides how much influence, and they have most of the last 80 years given them a degree of latitude that is it maybe had been acceptable at one time. I'm not going to argue with that, but at this point is no longer acceptable, which is why Senator Schumer put eminent domain into the first submission of UAP Disclosure Act, and some other things, which of course the defense contractors who have millions and billions of dollars floating in their eyes about what they're gonna do with all this, were not happy. I get it. And in under different circumstances, the Congress could have stepped up and just slammed them to the canvas, but not there yet. Hopefully, they won't have to be slammed to the canvas. They will finally come around and go, look, it's better to play ball, right, and do as well as we can, than to gouge the American people, continue to lie to the American people, and play a highly self-serving game. Though, my God, this is the era of self-serving capitalism. It'll be lauded and talked about for 1,000 years. That will be my recommendation to these the private entities. But ultimately, the president is the one, right? The president stands over those companies.
Yes.
The president has the ability to, how would you say, squelch those companies into a place where they're just begging for mercy. That's important. If he couldn't or she couldn't do that, then we would not have a democratic republic. We would have a fascist corporate state, which we don't have yet. But boy, it's starting to feel like that. So that's how I tend to look at it.
Yeah, yeah. Because Dr. Greer goes on to say that some of these companies have advanced reverse engineered tech, right? And this is stuff that, I mean, is that something, Stephen, that you think should be disclosed just because of what you were talking about? You know, do you want the other side knowing what you have, or you have to be very strategic with this sort of thing?
The other side already knows what we have. The other major countries have been studying this issue for 80 years as well. Many of them have crash vehicles. They have bodies. They're aware of this, and they can easily surmise what the United States is doing or not doing. That's an excuse they love to put out there. That comes under the heading of, look, under the heading of, we can't let any of our perceived enemies get ahead of us, allows you to justify anything. And they've abused it to the hilt. They've just massacred that particular option to the point where they've turned it into, I don't know. They just made it no longer a viable way to think anymore. So I understand, can't let our enemies get ahead. I'm saying let's get the truth out and spend more time having less enemies.
Right. Well, in the perfect world, that would be outstanding. But I think it's the age old, um, keeping people on the edge of their seat to, we can't give everything as national security. But I mean, I think that's something that even Ronald Reagan had mentioned back in the day was we face, the whole Cold War stuff. We have to, look to the fact that we may all have to face the same enemy one day, and it's going to come from above.
Well, he was wrong, but he was early, and I
Yeah. Yeah. Early days.
I
Yeah.
got that wrong. It was a kind of thing you could say. It was a way to sort of touch the issue without
Yes.
people throwing their hands up in the air. It's okay. That was then. That was a long time ago.
Right.
This is the 21st century.
Yes.
A statement like that, there are a lot of people around the world on the internet will be, oh, give me a break.
Yes.
That's okay. That's how you advance. The trouble is we're not advancing fast enough.
Right.
And so the nuclear threat is now literally at our door. It could happen tomorrow. Anybody who doesn't think that, fine, if it makes it easier to get through the day and raise your kids. But the truth is what it is. And so all your prospects for a future life, and certainly for your kids and grandkids, basically are hanging by a thread right now. And there's a ton of material out there, if you look for it, that tells you that. It's not the kind of thing that people go looking for when they get home from work. I'm going to find the latest on the nuclear arms risk. Okay, but oh my God, no. They don't want to, it's up to government, people that are paid to serve us, right? And want supposedly to serve us, to monitor these things, address these things. So you don't have to worry about nuclear war every day. They're not doing that. They're going out of their way to increase the risk of nuclear war while suppressing the truth about the ET presence, thinking that's working. It's not working.
Yeah. So, like I know with yourself, with non-human intelligence, the fact is disclosure. But they're really starting to, to push this, whether we're for races. This is part of the disclosure that they're talking about.
It's being talked about, right?
It's becoming a thing.
They're talking about the races, right?
Yeah.
And how do you think they know that? The contactees have told them about the races. The contactees have drawn them, painted them, reported them. That's how they know about that. Now, they may have had direct contact with some of these entities, and so they actually know it that way.
That's what they're claiming, too, though, as far as, there's these old film clips that are starting to surface. And I mean, I don't know. My own opinion is that they're sort of maybe feeling us all out as to what the public is prepared to accept. So maybe there's something a bit more exciting coming.
Feeling the public out, they're feeling the public up. Look, they've had decades and decades to assess the public's response to this. It has been in the news and been major for as long as I've been alive, but now it's like, so the idea that see how the public's no, they'll use there are certain elements of this issue, managers of this issue that will use anything, any lie, any distraction to just somehow hang on to this status quo. This is not unusual. Some of the reasons for that are not too bad. Some of them are awful, but history doesn't care. History will take you where it will. And when the nuclear war starts, rushing out after the bombs have gone off, after the radiation's gone down, and saying, look, I had a reasonable perspective on this, and, I apparently I was wrong, but, I meant well. No, right? They have contained to themselves an extreme, almost absolute right to determine how we deal with the nuclear threat. And I don't think they know what the hell they're talking about. And maybe they're going to the AI, right? And if they are, okay, but we can go to the AI, and people that go to the AI on this, you know what the AI says? You guys are at risk of a nuclear war. I'm not kidding. Try it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a scary, there's that part of me that says these are exciting times. And then there's that part of me that's kind of like, these are pretty scary, trying times. How do you balance it all? I mean, disclosure is exciting if it happens, but we're really in a place that it's really iffy with or without it.
You think?
Yeah. I'm in Canada, you're darn straight, I know.
That's not the only problem we have, amazingly enough.
Yeah.
Right? We're overpopulated by a minimum of 33%, probably half, minimum, until such time as we can find a way to provide resources without destroying the environment. to sustain a large population. We don't wait for that.
Mm-hmm.
We're like a couple that just loves children and
Mm-hmm.
had a 3-room bedroom house, and had
Mm-hmm.
3 kids, and said, "Yeah, I'd like to have more." I had 3 more, I had 6, and they doubled. They had bunk beds, and they said, "I love kids. Let's have 6 more." So then they went to 12.
Yeah.
They didn't get a bigger house. They just went to 12,
Mm-hmm.
and then eventually 50. And at 50 kids, the neighbors are going, have you thought this through? Do you have enough space? I mean, are you making enough money to feed them? I mean, what's going on here? And they're going, it's okay. We just love kids. We love kids. That's what we do.
Yeah.
It's like that. I mean, people say, well, how complicated is the population problem in the world?
Mm-hmm.
It's not complicated. The size of this planet and its resources, the size of the planet is the same as it was when there was only 1 billion people on this. Mm-hmm. And the amount of resources on the planet in terms of natural are less than when there was 1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And the destruction that we're doing to those things that create researches is off the charts as far as those times. Mm-hmm. And so you do all the math, and here's the answer. Mm-hmm. You're screwed. That's the answer, right? And so what are you going to do? And then we just throw up our hands and go, what can you do? What can you do? We can do a lot of things, but we're frozen in our ability to function, like people often get in their lives when it's so bad, so awful, they just shut their mind off to it and just try to go through life, right? Mm-hmm. We're kind of like that, frozen, can't get anything done, can't accomplish. I mean, in the larger, most appropriate sense, there are certain individuals who can get a lot done. Who cares? Mm-hmm. I mean, who cares if Mars is eventually has people on it or not? Mm-hmm. Particularly if the few people that are up there learn, from the last communication that we just destroyed pretty much all the planet, so you're not going to be able to come back. Whatever. All of this is all kind of funny looked at the right way, but it isn't funny. Mm-hmm. And so the job we have now is to get serious, get real, get things done, and start fixing things before it all falls apart. And I have come to the conclusion, as many others, that the fixing cannot go anywhere unless it starts with the end of the truth embargo.
Right. Allison says the whole world population could fit in Texas and leave the rest of the world empty.
Hey, look, this would be great. I want to get all the world's population. I want to put them in Texas, and they're not me. Mm-hmm. I just want to fly over Texas while 8 billion people down there are trying to go about their daily lives, which includes evacuating and all that other stuff, and watch the suffering begin. It is one of the great funny fallacies of all time. Hey, look, if you melted them all down, burn off the liquid, you could put the entire population probably in a single oil tanker. I don't see that as a good future for the public, for the American people. I mean, the world's people, rather. I'm trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be nasty or slap somebody around. I'm just saying the truth embargo has created a lot of humor, and these issues have created a lot of humor over the years because and it's because people are frustrated because the government just won't solve the problems, and so what the hell? Come up with something. Yeah. Right? And the job of the activists is to say, well, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. That could work. Right? That's what we do.
So what are your thoughts on, because there are a lot of people, again, you have John Ramirez, CIA officer John Ramirez saying, hey, we're all aliens. And there is an alien hybrid program going on. Then you've got Lou Elizondo, Tim Burchett, Matt Gaetz all saying, yes, there's a hybrid breeding program. So this is all something that is, I mean, they're just putting it out there. So are we adding to that population, or, is there a chance that we can all leave this planet?
I don't think it's that, much.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things being said that may be true, may not be true.
Yeah.
Until we end the truth embargo, we can't separate the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah.
I happen to think there is such thing as alien human hybrids.
Yes.
If the humans are doing, I know the ETs are doing that. If humans are also doing that, well, that's something we need to know about as soon as possible. All right. I mean, it makes for a nice sci-fi movie, but if the government's making alien human hybrids and do it privately in secret for their own, how would you say, amusement, and not telling us. I'm saying, that's nice. Now quit your jobs before we put you in jail for the rest of your life. Go away and let some sane people come in and run the government. But without disclosure, capital D, we're not going to be able to clarify that. The American people, the world's people, need to know everything every government has been doing with respect to extraterrestrials and their presence, period. Everything. If it takes 5 years, I'm good for that. If it takes 10, I'm not crazy about that. Like to see it in maybe 2 or 3. And if you're somebody that says, I need to know that, I don't care, let them do what they want, well, fine, get out of the way. Right? Get out of the way, go find a place to live, do your life, but don't get in the way of those that are trying to end this situation. But I think it's a fundamental, I call it a natural law. There are such things as natural law. And it's not the kind of thing that you can go in court on, but overall, it is kind of valid. There are some things that fall under natural law. And maintaining lies about something of that magnitude, I think, is a massive violation of natural law and leads to almost impossible to calculate abuses of power and abuses of the planet, abuses of people, and so forth, in ways that really are hard to really calculate. When we know about abuse, we're good at it, we do it, but at that level and so forth, it's hard to really measure just how abusive it is in the larger scheme of things.
Yeah. She goes on to say, point being that there are not too many people just selfish and uncaring of the planet. And Bart says, oh man, we already suffer in Texas. Just live here. You'll see the heated attitudes, everything. It's just like, yes, my friend. I know you guys suffer out there. So, yeah, it is.
And by the way, we're talking Texas here. Let's hear from the people in Calcutta.
Yeah, they're pretty jammed up. They're pretty jammed up over there for sure. Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit of even with conditioning, because apparently before they decided they were going to start putting out these bits of disclosure, allegedly they brought in, the church and other religious sects to try to talk to them, to prepare the flock, prepare their people. I guess to better prepare for how they were going to put forward disclosure. And in doing that, all of a sudden, you even have government officials saying everything's demons.
Well, first of all, I'm not aware that they have done extensive preparing the people by talking with lots of clergy and so forth. I'm not sure about that at all.
It's everywhere now.
It's out there.
Oh yeah,
that doesn't mean it's happening, right? Now there might be talk, but the idea that going back, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years, they were, having little chats with, and secondly, what was I going to say? The whole business about demons, fine. There are people that think they're demons. There are people that have religious beliefs that have strong opinions about a lot of things. What matters, though, is what are the fundamental positions of the great faiths, right? And the evidence is clear that they're going to be just fine. And they've been following this for all these years. It's not like you can't read a UFO book if you're a pastor or a mullah, right? So they're not to be shocked by this. So the statements of individual peoples of belief is their opinion, great, but I'm not going to be building activist policy, and the government should be building federal policy on that.
Oh, our family knew a priest who did analysis work for NASA, so I'm definitely with you on that.
Analysis? What kind of analysis?
Photos, old photos. They would be sent. Yeah, he worked for a university up in Canada, and they would send him books of things to analyze. He worked at the astronomy he headed up the astronomy department. And so, of course, they sent out all this blacked out information, but the idea was to analyze the photos. And this family member, basically, it was her job to categorize everything, catalog it, and whatever it was he said got shipped back, and that was that. So definitely.
I wonder if they had security clearances. If she had a security,
must have. Yeah, must have. So.
Yeah. It's Canada. Yeah. They're very chill up there. Yeah, they're ready to go to the flow.
I don't care.
By the way, the Catholic Church has an adjunct to their little problem with Galileo and the.
Right. Poor Galileo.
They develop and maintain a strong astronomy presence forever, and they have very clear opinions about this. They're perfectly ready. The Catholic Church is ready to jump right in there, take the lead, and try to pick up another 500 million Catholics. Why not? Is your faith not really adjusting to post-disclosure world? Come to us. We're very religious, got a lot, and we're totally down with the ETs.
And we've got the best telescope in astronomy.
Best telescopes. We got the confession. We got all this good stuff. And so they'll be competing for. And by the way, I happen to believe that church membership will go up after disclosure, not down. But call and plenty do.
Right. Yeah. Well, I agree. I like to look at it as a good thing. I mean, I've been seeing UFOs my entire life. As a child, I'd watch them. Aging myself because before the age of satellites, I grew up northern Canada and might have had one U.S. satellite in the sky back in, like the late 60s, early 70s. So when something booked it across the sky, it was really silent, and it was moving at doing different things. You didn't think much about it at that time, but I watched a craft land, and the next day there were 2 military helicopters. They landed right in behind the mountains because we were in a valley. We had lakes everywhere, and the military helicopters were there the next day, and the whole valley was just thundering because these things were just massive. And we didn't think anything of it. We didn't have that fear. We all grew up seeing that stuff. I grew up listening to stories from, my grandparents, my parents. My grandfather had a telescope, watched the night sky on a regular basis. So for some of us, it's not out of the norm.
Yeah.
But for others, I've had an elderly woman look right at me. Ghosts are one thing. I don't even want to talk about UFOs. It's like, all right, that's okay. That's all right. You don't have to. Right. So I think it's just you have people of faith who just don't want to recognize.
You have people that are atheists that don't want to recognize. Right. You have people of faith that are into it hip deep.
Yeah.
This is the nature of the world. There's nothing new about that. But these kinds of little things are popping up because the government will throw anything out in front of the disclosure train to try to slow it down. And we just don't buy that anymore. We're just not playing a game. Right. This is not a democratic process where until 51% of the world's people have finally absolutely committed themselves to the ETs are here, then we'll announce.
Sure.
That's not the way it works.
Yeah.
And they might even do it anyway. In other words, a lot of the truth embargo managers are living in an isolated box that they've never left, and they just can't imagine being outside that box. And I have some empathy for them, but not enough to care too much anymore.
Will you look outside the box of, conspiratorial stuff? You look outside the box, of, hypothesis. Like you're pretty right on track, focused. Yeah. Right.
I try to be.
Well, if you weren't, I don't think that you would have gotten as far with this as you have. I really do think that you were really instrumental in fighting the good fight, as they say, in doing that. So thank you for that, because
You're welcome.
It really helped.
I wasn't alone, I assure you. Plenty have done more than I, have been in it longer than I. And I hope to see that all of them get recognized as we move forward and not thrown away because, well, you were right, but now we got to move on with people that are more substantive and a more regular life. Going, no.
Yeah. So what's next for you? What's next for you? Where do you go?
That's a very good question. I do have a bit of a problem.
Uh-oh.
My life has been such that retiring is not an option.
No.
Trust me.
No, you can't leave us.
No, well, I can't live. So,
yeah.
So when disclosure happens, I am a disclosure activist and advocate. So once disclosure happens, I got nothing to advocate. That's done. So what do you do next? Yeah, I've had to give that a lot of thought, of course. First of all, there's a couple of things. One, because I have good relations with a lot of people and I know a lot of money, I am a nonprofit. Hello, you crypto people. But I think one of the most important tasks post-disclosure, of which there are thousands, is ensuring that the general public is not denied appreciation for and ability to know about all of the people that carried the water for 80 years, living and dead. That got us to this point when the members of the academia and military and others really weren't able to engage it before because it was not going to be helpful to the career and so forth. They're now in there and they're really forming groups and doing their thing, and that's what we've always wanted. But most cases would prefer that, you got us here now, just go find something else to do. Maybe one of those assisted living places. You could all maybe.
How about write a book, Steve? Never mind.
Well, I have to sit still for long periods of time. I'm not able to do that. You can always write a book, but I'm talking about doing something that is activism. And so one of the things I'm going to be doing, particularly if I get some modest funding, and I am still a nonprofit, and I'll always be, is okay. How can PRG help ensure that all of our colleagues and friends that pioneered this are not forgotten, and more importantly, included in what's going forward? You see, there's a few people that were not put on that science panel that should have been on there. Okay. But, and that they weren't. Right. Because, they were, into this very early, and everybody knew it was not really real. And so they must have been a little weird to even waste their time, whatever reason.
Right.
And also they were a pain in the ass, constantly complaining about the fact that we don't tell the truth, and constantly complaining about this and pushing and nudging and shoving and everything else. They're a pain. So we'd rather just go away. There must be something else you can do. Yeah. PRG is going to devote a lot of its time to changing that, correcting that, to first get them acknowledged. Of course, we always should acknowledge each other, and we do. We're constantly giving each other awards and stuff, which is great. I want to see some awards from the mainstream people that have benefited from all this sacrifice. And just, certainly in terms of the media and in terms of Hollywood and the big production people that are going to be, filming, creating films about all of this. That's why I created, along with Dan Harari, the Hollywood Disclosure Foundation, which is designed, Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, rather, HDA, to bring the people that have carried all the water with the people that are going to take that water and make all kinds of swimming pools and stuff. And so that'll help. So that's one thing I can do, and there's going to be plenty of need for that. And then there's the post-disclosure world. Well, what are we going to do? How are you going to deal with it? People will come in and say, look, I know anything about ETs or anything about, but obviously they're real. We're here. Now I'm going to design the post-disclosure world for you. Okay? Just give it to me. I'll take it from here. And I'm going, I don't think so. I think the people that understand this issue and understand the history and ET issue and all of that stuff should be intimately involved in changing and designing the post-disclosure world. And that's another way that the people in this field can, not just stand around and go, well, I was right, but rather use that knowledge in the post-disclosure world. And there's far more to do there and then than there is now, really, or before. All right, that's when things really get important. Disclosure, which took 80 years, is just acknowledging a truth that was known in a substantial way 8 decades ago, right? Post-disclosure world is how the world is going to operate from that point forever. So there's that. All right, so plenty to do there. And then there is another possibility, which is I'm still ruminating on, is that I've spent 30 years advocating for something transcendent important. that transcends politics and religion and so forth. And so I have remained nonpartisan, publicly, virtually never violating that. And I have stayed on my issue, stayed in my lane. There are some intersecting issues that you can get into because if you're pursuing the disclosure process. True, obviously the nuclear war arms race, things like that. But there are a whole lot of other issues. Well, after disclosure, one, I can go in any other issue I want. I have something to say.
Yes.
And I can be partisan if I need to. And by partisan, I mean, popping it to one party and then popping it to the other party as we try to fix the mess we've created. Now that could be fun. I mean, it's like Steve Unleashed. So there's that. I just need to stay healthy. But I just had my first kidney stone. And if you want to feel old, do that. Pass one of those puppies, and all of a sudden you're feeling 10, 15 years older than you thought you were.
Right.
So I'm recovering from that.
A little more ornery, too. Yeah. Put a bit more fight in you.
Yeah. It gets your attention. Anytime you get something, and when you read up on it in AI, it says, now, if you are suffering insufferable pain, and I'm going, well, I read a lot of stuff on AI about health and stuff. I rarely hear the term insufferable pain. Right. But with respect to kidney stones, it's there, right? And I'm going, no, that's not good. So we'll see, but what the hell? Whatever time I got left, I guarantee you I'm not going to be bored or idle.
So what would be a perfect scenario for post-disclosure for Steve Bassett?
Well, I don't know about Steve Bassett, but Steve Bassett.
Bassett. Okay.
I tease.
I'm French.
It's not a French.
Get a little flair.
Anything you want.
I got to put a flair on everything.
No. If it's in French, it sounds good no matter what.
Exactly.
So, look, if we can just reestablish the full SALT talks, and aggressively start reducing all the nukes to zero within 10 years or less, none, that would be an unbelievable accomplishment and might save our ass. But 10 years may not be enough. We'll see. But that one thing alone could change everything. Now, in some people's mind, oh, great. Now we get to fight with tanks more. Tanks are great. I love tanks. These battleships. God, those battleships are so cool. So we have wars like that. You sink them and you build more. Those kind of people are funny and should really to be locked up somewhere together. But that's one of about 100 fundamental changes that need to take place. If they take place soon enough, we could see a planet with a future.
Right. That's a big vision. I think if anybody could push in the right direction, I think it would be yourself. Do you think that current President Trump is a guy for the job? I mean, he seems to have been going leaps and bounds. He seems to be very much on board with making a very big difference. Do you think if he comes through and says, okay, I'm disclosing officially, do you think he could go the distance?
Keeping in mind, disclosure has not happened yet.
Yeah.
And I am operating in my pre-disclosure mode.
Yeah.
Okay. What I can say with strong feelings is that the door is wide open for President Trump to end the truth embargo. There's indications that he's getting that picture. He's got people around him that are talking about that. He has family members that are talking about that. And therefore, the door is open for him to disclose. If he does, he gets one of the, if not the greatest legacy in the history of the human race. Not to mention there might be a legacy down the line to surpass it. But as far as we know, and I'm not the only one saying this, it's a legacy that'll never be taken away. It will be remembered for 1,000 years or more. The first head of state that ended the truth embargo and opened the post-disclosure world, which probably include open contact with ETs. The second thing I always say when I bring this up, and I always say it, is that because we're so close, another head of state just jump in and say, I like my country. We have a military. We have some nice scientists. They're pretty cool. And guess what? I know there's an ET presence, and I'm announcing it to the world tomorrow. In which case, our president gets sloppy seconds, which means nothing, except the embarrassment of trying to explain to the American people why they just heard it from the Prime Minister of Greenland. Once again, I go to Greenland. I can't resist it.
Yeah.
So it's a simple thing, right? Do it or don't do it. But if you think
somebody will,
you don't, nobody else will, you're making a mistake. And so any advisor, and we know that there's some advisors that are thinking those lines, but any advisor that's whispering in the president's ear, don't upset the apple cart, Mr. President. Things are okay. We're really feeling good. And the midterms are coming up. We don't want to do anything to affect that. Grab that guy by the lapel, escort him to the door of the Oval Office, and then have the security people throw him in the reflection pool. I'm just saying.
Right.
The algae won't kill him, but whatever. That's what they do.
Right. I have a question for you, or two questions. Congress talks about whistleblower protection, but it's been shown countless times that whistleblowers can't be protected. They have been harassed in some cases, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to leave that right there. That's a touchy YouTube word. So basically what he's saying is, what can be done to ensure the safety of whistleblowers?
Whistleblowers can be protected, which is a different, and that's a level of protection. And there are witnesses that can be protected, which is another level of protection. It's different, not the same, right? Witnesses can have danger, but they're not the same as whistleblowers, because whistleblowers have done things that people, people that are not, criminal would be very upset with because they violated the law, right? And they think that's wrong, whatever. And whistleblowers often create problems for other people, right? So there are laws and there are some protections. Can they be absolutely protected? No, nobody can be absolutely protected. Could we have more? Yes. And that's always been an issue, depending on how things are going, because if things are going pretty well, there aren't a lot of people running around with awful things to say. But when things are going badly, there are. Yeah, we can improve that. What's important is that at the level of protection we do have, while not complete by any means, good people are coming forward anyway and putting up with, and what they're putting up with by and large is threats that'll never be carried through, harassment, doxing, things like that. Recently, a couple people disappeared, which is very hard to do. That raises the concern there's some last minute end of the game stuff where some people might be doing something because one or two people are just too much of a problem post disclosure. Better if they weren't here. If that's true, well, it's late in the game and it's a mistake, massive mistake. And maybe, or maybe not, if that is found out, they will be saved from an unpleasant end of their life by a truth and reconciliation program. But overall, this is a small part of this historic process underway. We should do our best, but by no means should it slow it down.
Right. I think you're up against things like verified evidence compared to whistleblower, like versus whistleblower testimony or intelligence rumors. You're up against intelligence rumors, disinformation, and what is considered reality, mythic interpretation versus wishful thinking.
What do you mean up against? I'm curious. What do you mean by?
Well, I mean, when you're looking at how do I word it properly? When we're talking about whistleblowers, I think people get taken down different roads. Whistleblowers put a lot on the line to come out with, with their testimonies. And I think you're looking at the logical side of things, think, well, verified evidence. Like, how is it verifiable? How can we verify that? Like, for somebody in your camp, it's just like, no, show me. Don't just say, hey, this might be a thing, this may not be a thing, where you get into, again, like intelligence rumors. There's a lot of disinformation out there.
You got the wrong camp.
Yeah.
In my camp, I don't do that.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
No interest in doing that. All right.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
When the comes forward,
yeah,
something he says or she says may put a little leverage in terms of moving forward on this clarity, or it may not. But it's really not important now to what's going on. We already know there's an extraterrestrial presence. And I say extraterrestrial. If you want to make an interdimensional presence, I don't care. But an extraterrestrial basically is more than adequate. They didn't grow up in Missouri and go to grade school, and so we already know that. The government knows that we know that there's an extraterrestrial presence, and quite a few people know that the government knows that we know that the government knows there's an extraterrestrial presence. So the whole thing is kind of a charade. That those who are managing the process, who just don't want things to change because they're comfortable with the way everything is set up, and they hate change. And so a particular whistleblower's testimony is a small, tiny piece of a much bigger process underway. And it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. Now, at best, if it's true, particularly for the whistleblower, but if it's fake, it doesn't matter. We are past that. Everything that is going on now is not about painting the picture of everything that's happened. It is about simply pursuing the things you need to pursue in order to support a president disclosing, whether it's legislation, whether it's some hearings, some basic testimony. All of that is structure that allows the president to come forward. The president's not going to come forward and say, okay, tonight I'm going to been telling you everything that's happened since 1947. It's going to take about a month, but I'm going to stay up 5-hour energy drinks and tell you it all. No. It is about a political event called disclosure with a capital D that then allows it all to come out in a way so that people don't have to risk anything in order to participate, since they'll be acting completely under the law. Now, I get it. I've been at this for 30 years, so I understand why people new to this or have not engaged it. It's hard to sort of make these distinctions, and I appreciate that. It's okay, no big deal, but I'll just continue to remind everyone what is actually going on and not invest too much in the process. Okay, it's like pursuing a judgment in a court of law. Okay, and the process is you present, you do this, and what have you, and then ultimately the jury makes a decision, and you end up with that result. But for some reason, people get really wrapped up in the personal lives of some of the jurors, right? Also the judge, and they're watching the people that are attending, because the people that are watching the trial, what does that mean? Why are they there? And then they get into the architecture of the courthouse. No. Focus on the fundamental thing that is happening. Establishing the basis for the president to disclose.
But you're looking at the fact that, having their part to play. Again, I'll say whistleblowers, this is what we're talking about. But they sort of pave the way for the public to maybe put pressure to make your job easier in Congress. They're going to their members of Congress. They're going saying, hey, we want in on this. We want to know what's going on. And that's thanks to these people who are risking everything and laying the foundation. And maybe now you have people in Congress going, okay, Steve comes up and they're thinking, let's just listen to this guy, because we're getting a lot of constituents saying, hey, that's enough. We know that there's more to this out there. And then they meet you. And like, we have a guy in Congress who's actually on board with this.
I hear you. And maybe you interpret it that way. That's not what I was saying.
No, right.
What I'm saying is that witnesses of any type that come forward are helping to advance the process.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Getting into, but he's a whistleblower, but however, does he have the documents, or do they have this?
Yes.
That? No. And the managers, the truth embargo, would love us to spend years doing this.
Yeah.
All right, now we got this whistleblower. It's really interesting. I think we need to do a full docs on that person. We need to study them for some time. Let's bring them in for 3 or 4 polygraph tests, whatever, because he may be not telling, or she may not be telling the truth.
Yeah. Where verified evidence comes in. Yeah.
They've come forward. If they're a legitimate person, they've been in the government, they're saying this, you put a file in it, you move forward some more.
Yeah.
Because remember, the government already knows all of this.
Yes.
The parts of the government that have the need to know already know some of this.
Yes.
And so it's not like a scientific project where we're trying to find some super truth. No, it is a legal process, a congressional process that is designed to end a political policy that doesn't care about the truth, whether they're right or wrong or what they knew. They don't want any of it to come out.
Yes.
Certainly the truth.
Yeah.
And they will allow something false to come out, right? Because that tends to muddy the waters. They're okay with that. But as you can see, this is not a truth process. This is a political management process. And a lot of people are caught up in it, doing the best they can. And to the extent it gets confused and distracted, whatever, serves the truth embargo. My job as an activist is to cut through all the froth and the this and the that and keep it constantly on focus so that we get there sooner than later. And let's say there aren't a lot of pure activists out there. I mean, I have a lot of researchers and a lot of great work done. But if we'd had two or three activist groups, real activist groups, like the anti-war movement had and the environmental movement had, say going back, say 20 years, but 20, 30, $40 million a year in funding coming in, we could have blown this thing out of the water long ago. But the truth embargo was very effective in not allowing or preventing that from happening. And so we had to do it the hard way.
Right. Right. Do you want to comment, or can you comment on missing scientists? I just see a bunch of questions coming in, and I don't want to go there if you don't want to go there.
Any way you want. Ask anything you want.
Right. Okay.
Look, I can do a lot. I can spend a lot of time on this, but
yeah. Well, you have time if you want it.
Yeah. No. I'm just saying. I'm trying to figure out how far I want to go. Before I answer this question, I must have some liquid. Just give me a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna need liquid on this one.
All right. No problem. Okay. All right.
From a lot of dehydration.
Yeah, that's no worries. No worries at all.
Here we go. All right. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Good.
Sounds serious over there.
Yeah. It's a little cramped in my office, which actually is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. That's the story. Okay, so two things. One, I think there's been very, very little wet work that's been done on this issue.
Okay.
Going back to the beginning, but there's been some. Okay. I think in the early days, it wouldn't shock me at all because that's when the stakes were high, the uncertainty was high, and people were a little worked up. And maybe some got a little too worked up and had to be dealt with. I get that. Then things settled down, and there's just no need to do that for a long time. But then as we get near the end, when the thing is maybe going to collapse, and a lot of people are going to have to face some scrutiny, questions. I could say the music, but no. And they're not wanting to do that. And some people have participation in stuff that they've done that is at this level, and some have at that level, right? And there may be somebody over here that knows about that level, and they would prefer that that never come out, and so they decide to do some wet work on that person. I think at the end, it wouldn't surprise me to see a bit of that. Now, but how do you know, right? Believe me. Wet work is not being done by, teenagers hanging out at the mall. So it would be tough. And so a couple of situations recently are particularly notable, and they sort of got some traction on the net. Everything gets traction on the net, let's face it. And the net is, it's got big holes in the net. And so immediately as that got underway, the net did what it does. It searched, looked, grouped, and started tossing more people into the category until they were up to 10, 12, 13, 14 that people on the internet were feeling could be wet work victims. So now we're creating like a menagerie of wet work victims. That's what the net does. That's not helpful, though. And so after I looked at it, I concluded, first of all, most everybody on that list, highly unlikely that they're involved in that. And so this is simply putting some families through a very difficult time in order to serve, well, what the net does. But there were a couple that frankly deserved extensive investigation. And number one was McCaslin, without any question. The other was, I think, Sullivan. And there was a third possibility. Beyond that, I'm saying let it go. McCaslin was number one. because this is a very strange and unusual situation. In the case of McCaskill, complicated, unusual, and they haven't found him yet. And secondly, Sullivan, I believe, committed suicide shortly after being asked to testify by a member of Congress.
Yeah.
That is worth a serious investigation. And a third one, I think, might have been something to worth looking into. And then there's all kinds of theories about some of the others. The net generates theories. And when it comes to dead people, don't generate a theory about it. Not that people's going to, listen to me on this. They're going to do whatever the hell they're going to do. But to the people that are watching and seeing these things being thrown out there, ignore them, because it is the nature of the internet to always take things too far. And in most cases, it's like, it's just more of an interesting scenario. But when you're talking about dead people, you're talking about families. And you're drawing those families into a conspiracy with respect to being killed by bullshit. So be responsible. I say this somewhat humorously, because asking the net to be responsible is a pretty funny thing. All right. So McCaskill and Sullivan and one other's name, I wish I should be able to know that. I'll look it up. I'd like to see those run completely to ground. And if they find out that one or both of them was wet work by somebody, then they're going to have to hope that the Truth and Reconciliation law covers them. And it may or it may not. And there you go. But for those that are considering doing any more of that, disclosure is about to come, folks. And so, let go with it, for God's sake.
There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle, I think. And
you think?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so getting on something a little bit more lighthearted. Have you seen Disclosure Day? Because your opinion I would trust.
As it happens, my dear.
Yes.
I saw it this morning.
Oh, okay. And?
For the first time. I deliberately waited. 7 days, I guess, at least. Because I've avoided trailers, everything, the odd pieces, but really just shut it out.
Yes.
But I was paying attention to the responses that people have. Not the descriptions, but the response that liked it, didn't like it, and so forth, and why. I was curious. And I wanted to kind of know that before I went into the movie, so I could look and see to what extent I'm getting why they're not reacting and so forth. And so I went to the huge theater complex downtown Washington called Regal Gallery. Okay. It's got 9 theaters. Each one's as big as any theater I was ever in my life. Got the recliner seat. Got the black recliner seats. Big
comfy. Yeah.
Did I say it was 10 a.m.? I think I did.
Yeah.
So I went down to row B. I went over to seat 8, which is directly in front of the center of the screen. Hit that button. Took it back. Right? Very comfortable. And then watched all those god awful. Well, I didn't watch. I don't watch trailers, but I go through the trailers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
There was not a single other person in the theater.
Right.
Don't go, oh, well, it's failing. No, it's already past 100 million. It cost 115 million to make. He's going to make a ton of money. He always does, and he deserves every penny.
Yeah.
And so I watched it by myself, taking notes on my phone, right, in order to get my initial assessment. And so, okay, get ready.
I'm ready because, like I said, your opinion I am all about. But I haven't seen it.
I'm going to do my best to say what needs to be said here without blowing any serious.
Okay.
And what do you call it? Giving away, right?
Okay.
Spoilers, whatever. I don't want to do it, but there's going to be a little of that. So if you haven't seen the movie, you don't want it.
No, I want it. That's why I'm asking. You're either going to get me to go see it, or I'm going to go with my initial assessment. So.
The movie is absolutely brilliant. It is genius.
That's
Spielberg. It is amazing.
Yeah.
It is astounding.
Right.
It's remarkable. It's an extraordinary accomplishment, carefully thought through, planned, done, and then opened almost directly in line with the disclosure process, which was well underway at the time the movie starts to come together, right? Fully orchestrated by Steven Spielberg. Yeah. I don't know who wrote the screenplay. I think it's got to be 2 or 3 people in concert. No one person could have written that screenplay. The screenplay is absolutely outstanding because, not because, oh, it's a great narrative. Because what? Spielberg, by the way, I should mention, I just found this out. Steven Spielberg, and I were born 9 days apart in 1946. We're both Sagittarians and of almost the exact same age.
Right.
He spells his name with an E. I spell it with a PH, unless we're talking friends, in which case I'm Steve. I'm never Steven. That's Stephen Greer. Let's get this right.
Yeah.
So he knew exactly what he was doing. He's the richest, one of the richest entertainment. I think he's the richest movie entertainment person, but it's so complicated. Now he's worth about $6 billion.
Yeah.
One of the most successful men ever in the history of Hollywood in a lot of ways. He's had maybe 2% of his things really not that good. The other 98% incredible. Staked out a position on this issue like none other. And because he is who he is, because he has been wealthy, because he has access to all kinds of people, and all kinds of people would die to have access to him, I think his understanding of the truth embargo and what has happened is quite exceptional. He knows what's going on. I mean, to a degree that reasonable. I'm not saying that he's having lunch every week with somebody that is like building saucers or keeping track of ETs, but rather he knows the key stuff. He knows they're here. He knows how we've dealt with it and the kind of programs we have and so forth and so forth. He keeps it to himself because he doesn't. There's no upside for him to tangle with the government on this issue. And more importantly, he has made a great difference with the films that he's made. That's how he's chosen to engage the issue. And so he engaged in a major way with Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yes.
Which, if you look at it, the context of the truth embargo and the history, it's just exactly what was needed. Right? So essentially, he shows you contact, kind of formal contact, right? Puts J. Allen Hynek in that scene. All right, and so forth and so forth. This is not an accident. The ETs look like pretty much the ETs that the predominant grades. Right?
Yes.
This isn't like, I just came up with it. No, that was a long time ago when the truth embargo was far more solidified. And then a lot of years go by. We make our progress. You get our breakthroughs in 2017, and it continues and continues and continues. And about 5 years into what I consider the end game, he makes a key decision. Okay. I could make a movie that will have enormous impact on this. I need to decide how and when to do it. And so X amount of planning goes into this. You got to line up certain things. The funding is obviously not a problem. And I'm going to guess around 2022, things get going. And I believe it was after Grush that we first heard that there was a film in the works, but it was locked down. That's another important thing. Locked down, meaning everybody's under an NDA, including the caterers. Nobody talks about this film. They gave it a title called The Dish, working title, The Dish. Okay. Go to work to make this movie. And while he's making the movie, all these other things are moving forward. The hearings and this and that, and the witnesses coming forward, the massive media coverage and on and on. That's all happening as this is being put together. To some degree, it may reflect that. They may have been taking that into account, don't know. And so eventually they take it to the next level and they change the working title to Disclosure. Thank you, Mr. Spielberg. Okay. And they work on it some more. And we get closer. And we get closer. until finally they announce the date. And I just can't imagine that they did the calculations of where things were going, how things were going to land, etc. And they picked that date with care. It wasn't a dartboard.
No.
Right. And so they selected June the 12th of 2026, which is just a little over, I think, 3 years after Grush testified. All right. And then they announced the title, Disclosure Day. Oh, come on. Now, look, I don't want to get overly worked up here, but back in 2003, I set up a website in order to create a concept, an activist concept, to create World Disclosure Day, because there was a World UFO Day, and it was time to move on from that to disclosure. And I put the site. Now, a couple of other gentlemen whose names I don't have handy, but they had also tried to get that going. But I'm a 24-hour a day activist guy, so I was able to get it going, and it's been still up, but it's got a broken thingy, so I got to fix that. So you can go find it. But I think I gathered 5,000 responses in support of it, World Disclosure Day, and I set the date. You had to have a date. I set the date for July the 8th. And the reason I set it for July the 8th, that was the day the decision was made by the president to tell Roger Ramey to turn that press release around into a weather balloon. All right. And thus, informally, as far as I'm concerned, began the truth embargo. And therefore, ending the truth embargo would be Disclosure Day, July the 8th. All right, fine. And, I referred to it year after year after year. But overall, disclosure, and then I would refer to Disclosure Day. So, but I'm not the first that brought it up, but I, solidified it and then talked about it for the next, well, let's see, we're about 20 years. And so, when you decide, but I didn't trademark it because I'm an idiot, right? I'm not a good businessman. Trust me, I'm not a good businessman. Everybody knows this, including my family, living or dead. And so I didn't trademark that puppy. But in any event, so when he announces that the movie is Disclosure Day, I'm going, yeah, right. That's thank you, and feel free to whatever. So anyway,
throw you some shekels.
Yeah, what the hell? It's just a free lunch. Yeah, take me to lunch at the Factor's Deli. I don't care. Look.
So what do you say to people who are calling it a psyop?
Yeah. And there are so many people that have been warped by the government's awful policies that they're no longer able to know what's good, what's bad, what's side, what's not. That's the government's fault. That's not theirs. I don't criticize the American people by and large in that sense. So Disclosure Day, this is huge. So I was pretty sure that he had made the decision that he was going to make a movie. It could be the last movie he ever makes, but it takes at the end of his life. 50 years after he makes Close Encounters, to close the circle and significantly impact this process, solidify it, help make it happen as his contribution to the activist movement. God bless him. Because otherwise it didn't make a damn bit of sense. However, I hadn't seen the movie yet, right? So I finally saw it today. Okay. And I went in there knowing what people liked or didn't like and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't really know the details of why they didn't like it. And here is what I saw. Now, it's clear that, and I think people know this, but everything that happens in this world, big or small, though the more complicated, the more this applies, is interpreted through the worldview of the individual. Their life experience, the cumulative life experience is the prism in which they look at it and try to understand it. And everybody's life experience is different. Everybody's perspective is different. No two people ever see anything exactly the same, which is interesting. It's good and it's bad. it's good because if something happens and a whole bunch of people see it, they may get different interpretations, but the cumulative of that pretty much fits it all. So if person A really kind of misses something because it's not in their worldview, another person gets it. And when you put it all together, you end up understanding it. That's very helpful. In other words, it's a collective system of understanding. That's true in science, true in everything. All right. And the downside, of course, is that it creates endless arguments and beefs and discussions that go on and on and on. That's the way it is. Okay, so when I sat there in that chair, waiting for the film to start, I asked myself, so far, has anybody sat in front of that screen to watch this film who is still involved in a 30-year total activist engagement of the truth embargo, which is what this is about, right? Than I. And I wasn't sure I'm not saying there wasn't such a person. I mean, there could be somebody in China. I just don't know. But in general, my guess is not many, right? And so I'm sitting there thinking, I have a very special perspective on this that may allow me to see things that others are just not going to get. And so I'm taking notes and stuff in the whole 9 yards. And so off we begin. And how could I put this? What he and the writers, and boy, I got to find out who wrote this. I mean, I got to find out everything about this thing. But what they did was attempt to present the key elements of the truth embargo, the most important aspects of the ET engagement for covering the whole 40 years, one way or another, in either indirect or direct terms. So, and we're talking about 80 years. I mean, there will be 20-volume series of books and documentary series to cover the truth embargo. If I get $20 million, crypto people, I'll make some contacts in Hollywood. I do have some, and make that series. I mean, that would be the ultimate thing. The ET thing is kind of straightforward. They're here. Let's acknowledge it. The truth embargo and how the government, along with implicit or explicit cooperation of all the other nations, managed to maintain a lie for 80 years when the evidence confirming it's a lie is all over the place, is one of the greatest stories in history. I mean, as a political or whatever, it's incredible. I love it. You basically compress that into one movie. I'm saying, well, go for it. Let me see what you got. Can you do it? All right. And without getting into, again, I'm going to avoid spoilers, but right away, I kind of got a confirmation that I was on the right track, because the very first thing you see in this movie is violence. Boom. Instant violence. But the interesting thing about it, it's fake violence. All right. And so the message here is that we are a violent society and we like to watch it, but we also like to fake it. And I'm thinking, okay, I get the point right off the bat, just in the first 15 seconds. And then on it goes from there. And they pulled it off. It just, again, if you know the history of this, then you're just picking this stuff up. Boom, 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 boom. But if you don't, if you're just a person that's kind of new to this thing, but it's a great movie, you love Steven Spielberg, you go in there and you see, and it's like, it's kind of Mission Impossible, only nicer in a way, right? It's classic Steven Spielberg in the sense that lots of this and that and everything else, but nobody dies. Some of his movies, a few died. Some the worst people, but not. It's very Spielberg. It's what you expect from it. So far so good. But right, as it goes forward, begin to see and understand that he is serious about getting across extremely important points, and clearly is confirming that he knows, not just believes, there is an extraterrestrial presence, which since the movie has opened, he's been asked some questions, and he's saying, yeah, I believe they're here. Finally, took a long time, but he's saying it now because it's time to say it now without getting an elaboration. All right? So Emily Blunt's going to get a nomination for Best Actress. Colin Firth is going to get a nomination for Best Actor. One of the girlfriend of one of the characters is going to get a nomination for Best Supporting Actress. The film will be nominated, of course, for Best Picture. A lot of people would make the case that while good, really good, it's like this kind of sci-fi movie, a little quirky, and there'll be some dramas. They're going to come out later this year with all kinds of Shakespearean stuff, and people are really fantastic. And I get that. Except the Oscars, and not until next year. And by the time the Oscars get here, and all that is going to happen, right, with respect to Disclosure, right, and Disclosure Day, they're just going to hand the Oscars out to them. Just, hey, come on up. Giving them all to you. Bing, 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 bing.
Right.
It's going to be fun, right? We'll see. And so as we go through this, all the key stuff is there if you know where to look. And so that's just fun as hell. I really encourage people who did not really kind of get it and kind of struggle with it, maybe left, what's going on here? Wait a bit, take another week or so, go back, watch it again. All right. Maybe read a couple of books, read some Richard Dolan, whatever the hell, and go back and watch it again. But whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm picking up on this. There's a couple of Easter eggs in there.
Right.
There's a character named Nathan Twining in there. Just touches on it, right? They didn't move on.
Yeah.
And I think there may have been a couple more that I missed.
Yeah. All right. So you recommend it.
Of course I recommend it.
Yeah.
But let me close strongly with this.
Okay.
As it gets to the climax, as we're moving towards the ultimate reason that he made it, I'm getting chills up and down my spine. And as it approaches the end, in the last minute, I am crying my eyes out. Now, I've cried at maybe 3 movies in the last 65 years. As it happens, one of them was Schindler's List, which was made by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
The guy credit. He's one of the greatest. He's in the top 3 greatest filmmakers of all time, period. Right? Well, top 5, but he's probably number 3, whatever. And I was, why am I crying so hard? Why am I so, losing it here?
Yeah.
Because if you know my history and you watch this movie, or if you don't know, but you go online and Wikipedia page is totally screwed up, but I'm working on it. I'll make it decent, but I got it happens all the time. I'm sitting there, and it suddenly starts to dawn on me that this movie confirms everything that I have been saying and doing and trying to accomplish. Confirms that I was doing the right thing, that the message was the right message, leading to the right place. It's like this gentleman and I were born only 9 days apart. And it just took me over.
Right.
And so one day I hope to meet him. I have a partner that met him once. His people have been approached a couple times to join the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance that I founded with Dan Arari, because it's, Hollywood people and the UAP people. But he's a big guy, and the agents and they're not, no, please, no, I'm not going to do that. But, that could happen, right? So for me, it was just overwhelming. I didn't expect that. I don't cry much. I'm not a sentimental man. Trust me, I am.
Yeah.
Not. That's why I never got married, because about 2 years into the marriage, and my wife would be going, Does anything affect you? Nothing. It's not anything. You're like a cold. You're a block of ice. So I invite people to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
That this, after all of this time,
mm-hmm.
and I, of course, I was affected by Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I mean, I did make a decision to get in the field in '96, but I saw that movie when it came out, and it never goes away with you. Okay.
No, it never leaves you. I see.
Right?
Yeah.
So all these years go by. I'm 79, and I get to watch this movie by myself in an empty theater. I can just totally watch and just engage in it. And there it is. I was right. I was right the day I got in. I'm still right. Now, understand, being right is overrated, and people get really worked up about being right. Trust me. It's not as great as you think. So when I say being right, it's not quite what I'm trying to express.
Mm-hmm.
Valid is a better thing. In other words, the reason was valid. The fundamental approach was valid. The concept was valid. The message I was trying to get was valid. The outcome and the reason was valid. It was just like right there. And yeah, I talk constantly about nuclear war and the fact that it's imminent. Was that in the movie? Yeah, it was. Was it overplayed? No, it's just kind of in there floating along with a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
You could watch this movie 5-6 times. There's more. I missed some Easter eggs. I'm sure there's some Easter eggs I missed. And so we'll be feasting on this for a long time. And so that is the current situation I have with that film. Now, I'm going to be talking about this podcast after podcast after podcast. I'm not going to let this alone.
Right.
I'm going to pound away at this. Okay.
Yes. There's
another irony about this. Okay. Because, and again, when I found out this morning that we were born only 9 days apart, it's impossible. No way. Right. But what? I don't know where he was born, but if he was born within like 10 miles of where I was born, I'm going to freak out.
No.
And so what I'm saying is that years ago, we tried to get a series together when things were cooking. I came to Hollywood at the request of a producer. They spent a lot of money filming me to do all kinds of big projects. We had a couple of $1 million pitches. It was Hollywood. I was a naive guy, right? It ate me alive. And then the pandemic blew up again, and then the strikes happened, and everything else just wiped everything out. People had to go back to driving Ubers, and everybody hated each other, and I fled back to Washington. That was years ago. Recently, though, the outtake of that, the product of that, was in fact taken up again, heavily edited and enhanced into what will be a 9-platform series, not a 9-piece series that could go on multiple platforms very soon. Which would be very nice.
Yeah.
I mean, because we went through hell to do this, and it perfectly fits my future prospects, which is about our future ideas, which is about promoting the people in the field, and it could become a series in which I interview all of the people that are in this field that have made big differences. It's wonderful, and it could make a lot of money, which is something that I happen to be quite short on.
Yeah,
in fact, always been short.
Yeah,
and the name of it was going to be Disclosure and Beyond.
Perfect.
Which I love that name.
Yeah.
And as the decision was made to get the funding that would finally allow it to happen, one of the lawyers on our side pointed out, look, because the plan was to drop this before the end of June, right? Not that long after Disclosure Day. For obvious reasons. I mean, this is an easy call. And the lawyer basically pointed out, you don't step on a Steven Spielberg movie like that.
No.
I don't, whether there's legal involved, who gives a crap? You just don't do that. And so consequently, we have to change the name. And I was so crushed because I love that name. And then they decided what the name would be. Do I like this name? No, I'm not like this name. However, I understand, and you got this is Hollywood, right? So film industry. And so with any luck, this series will come out not too far down the line, and you'll hear about it in time. But the Disclosure, of course, was because just want to point out again that I started talking about disclosure as a disclosure day right around 2001.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Long time coming. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that's my situation on the movie. I'll ask, you've got questions, I'll be happy to answer.
I think it's fantastic. I think you have, to say you've earned it would be an understatement, because I don't think anyone has put in, the kind of hardcore time that you've put in.
Oh, they have. Trust me. They have more than I. Trust me.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how lazy I am.
Right.
But nevertheless, I'm.
That's teamwork.
Yeah, and also I'm what do you call it? OCD. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm an OCD guy.
Yeah.
Right. I sit down to start doing something, and if it fits into the OCD, the next thing you know, days have gone by.
Yeah.
But I haven't worked as hard as I wanted to, and I would love to be able to improve on that in the post-disclosure world.
Right. Well, I think that there will be more work to do.
Oh yeah.
Than leading up. I mean, now you have to. Things need to be formatted. There needs to be guidelines. There needs to be consultation. There's going to be there's so much more to do.
There needs to be panels. There'll be advisory panels. We just had one.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They got, it's kind of an opening move. Am I totally on board with this panel? Not exactly. But I should like to point out, just for the record, again, getting back to what I was saying earlier, I have a colleague, I think his name is Richard Dolan. Yes. Richard Dolan.
Yes.
Who knows more about this issue than the entire panel combined. And so the question is, why isn't he on that panel? All right. Just throwing that out there. So that, just to point out. And every time we go down that road, we're going to be talking about that. Danny Sheehan's going to be doing the same thing. We're not going to simply go away and go, hey, thanks for taking it on. Now I can go and become a golf pro like I always wanted to, or just surf or something. No. So, we got the internet, we got the podcast revolution. We got all the cool things going for us right here. We do more podcasts than you guys. Nobody on that panel has even come within miles of the number of interviews I've done. And so consequently, and Danny Sheehan's catching up. So we're going to be talking about that. There are people in our world, our how would you say world, our group that deserve to be part of these processes going forward. And we're not going to sit kindly to be completely blown out. And it'll get particularly irritating when somebody is put on these panels that has absolutely no business being on that panel for a number of reasons. I'm not going to name names because that's not how I roll.
Right.
Okay. But I'm pointing, I don't need to, by the way. Right. Because every time they put what, a who on that panel, the internet will have plenty to say about it. And it does. Now, look, I get it. It's not some simple thing. And you're trying to put it, I understand that. And so all I'm suggesting is show a little wisdom, show a little cooperation, acknowledgement, get some of these key people involved. We're going to be totally chill, totally down with it. But if you really think you're going to blow us off, you really bugged the hell out of us for decades. Yeah, you were right, but you drove us crazy. Now we're taking over. Okay. And so be happy with being right and go find a nice home somewhere and enjoy the rest of your life. No, not going to happen.
Right. Well, I think you have you've got a lot of fire left in you, and I think that you have. Yes, yeah, and I think you have a lot of work to do, and I definitely think you're the guy to spearhead it, as you always have for the last 3 decades.
Say it.
Yes.
To do.
Yes, there's lots to do. And I appreciate the review on the movie because now I will watch it.
Oh, so you haven't watched it. Well, look, okay, now you really have a very good platform to watch it now that most would not have.
Yeah.
And so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And don't jump to any conclusions. Just let it happen, but pay attention to details.
Yes.
Because there's a lot more in this movie than just another, mission accomplished, right?
Right.
And by the way, there's some mission accomplished scenes in there. One in particular is as every good as anything you've seen in, almost as good as anything you might have seen in Tom Cruise's stuff. Damn good. He can do that when he wants to, without anybody having to die. But well done. Okay, he knows how to make movies. God bless him. And and his movies are always, well, But here's another story about this man who was born. Did I mention he was born only 9 days from my? Okay. One of the things that ultimately helped lead me to an activist life occurred around. This would have been late 80s, very late 80s, maybe 89, 90, somewhere. Anyway, I'm in San Luis Obispo. You should never leave San Luis Obispo, but I'm dumb enough to do that. And I belong to Amnesty International. I didn't spend much time with it. It's an incredible organization. I should have belonged to it my whole life, but whatever. I'm part of it there. And I got this wild idea to raise money for Amnesty International by holding a special screening at the theater there of Schindler's List. And so they agreed to show it, and we invited people to come, pay a certain amount, and to watch Schindler's List as a fundraiser for Amnesty International. And I got up and I talked about it. Right? I think before, maybe after, I'm not sure, maybe before. And it felt really good. I hadn't done that before. It felt really good. It was activism. It was formal. And it was attached to this incredible movie, which is still amazing, by the same man, right? And that stuck with me, that feeling. And so it played a role in about 6 years later, roughly 5-6 years later, that I decided, okay, I'm going to be an activist the rest of my life, and it's going to be ETs, as opposed to Amnesty International, a perfectly incredible organization. But I was a sci-fi guy, and it's got to be that. So again, this connection to Spielberg goes back to that too. I am not the only one that has connections to Spielberg like this. He's affected the lives of a lot of people in a positive way. I think he knows that. Surely he knows that. He's been told it 1,000 times. But you can't. It's good to remind others. There's more to filmmaking than just making big bangs go off and huge bucks and whatever. It's the most powerful form of entertainment and maybe even art the world's ever seen. And it's good to remind people of that once in a while, and hopefully they'll make more movies like that in the future.
I think it's something that lacks, film with depth. I think things have been redone so many times because they know what will fly at the box office. And somewhere along the line, you can have something with depth and creativity. And this is, from what you're saying, this is a perfect example of that. I've always been, a fan with respects to the films. Avatar. I didn't want to talk about how many times I went to see Avatar. I just looked at that and I went, that is so brilliant. It's just so well done, and I don't think it's like you say, Close Encounters never leaves you. It's never left me. People will say, well, what's your favorite film? It's just like, well, it had to have been Close Encounters, because that was the wake-up call. It really was a wake-up call. And for those who have that kind of interest, like I kind of grew up seeing things I couldn't explain in that manner. And when that film came out, it was just like, well, that's something. I can't hear you. Oh.
So when I was a teenager, just like in high school, I was certain there was extraterrestrials here, just by reading some of the articles that were coming out. Yeah. Right. Without any bias, I'm just reading. Oh, that's extraterrestrials, and then I'm waiting for what's going to happen from that, and then I'm starting to realize that nothing is happening from that. And it wasn't just because I read a lot of sci-fi stuff and like sci-fi. Yeah. It was common sense. And so when Close Encounters comes along, I've got no resistance whatsoever to what they're trying to present there. And so consequently, it was like, great. And I'd read or seen that the Greys look like this and so forth and all of that. And so it was great. I love the movie, and I'm thinking, well, that is going to advance things a little bit. Let's see what happens next.
Yeah.
Not much happened next, but nevertheless, I don't know how many millions of people saw that movie, but hundreds of, I think over the years, probably hundreds of, maybe a billion or more people have seen it once in one form or another.
Yeah.
You know, it's off and on, played here, TV, whatever else, big number. So the end of that movie is somewhere in the consciousness or the brain of a lot of people on this planet. And you can't underestimate the power that has as the real thing starts to develop, right? Around 93, 4. All right, which is years later, about 15 years later, but there it is. And it just kind of makes it a little easier to go forward. This and so many other things. It's not like a bunch of activists and a couple of researchers got together and convinced the world that it's true. And then, no. This has been a unnecessarily slow integration of truth, reality, in the brains of billions of human beings so that they could possibly move forward on this against the wishes of their government, which is supposedly be serving them and providing a truthful and rightful understanding of the world. This is the counter. This is art at its absolute most powerful. No painting could do this. No piece of music can do it, though some of them are pretty powerful because they're emotional. But no. A film like Close Encounters, it's hard to measure its impact. However, this film is another matter. It's of a different type than Close Encounters, absolutely. It's got more, bad guys. It's got more, government issues, things like that. But the issue that it's addressing dealing with at the time of dealing with it is incredibly powerful. And what's going to happen now is that as we move forward in time through the rest of this year, as more comes out, including possibly disclosure from the president, that film may not leave the theaters until next year. I don't know how the theater business works, but if I'm the distributor behind this film, or I've got money at stake here, and things are going the way I think they're going, that is never going to leave the theater. You have to be out of your mind.
If people are still paying to see it,
sure, doing well so far. Not the massive things that Avatar can do, but there's 8 billion people in this world, right? And there's theaters all over the world, and I think they're capable of actually doing that in any language they want.
Sure.
Right? That's them, with the captions or whatever. So technically speaking, 90% of the people on this planet are going to kind of want to see that film if things go the way they are going. So who knows? Come Oscar, those people will be sitting in the audience watching those things come out regarding a movie gross $3-4 billion, unless they start giving it away for free, which they could do. Right. Now it's available to anybody, whatever. That's a possibility. I don't think it matters that much to him, but this is the film that, of all the films that have been made on this is the film we want every person living on this planet to see if they can. There's some other great films. This is the one, because the final moment of that film, which takes about 2 seconds, is literally at the intersection between the pre-disclosure world and the post-disclosure world and all that it brings. Culmination, you get it, it hits you like a hammer, and you're going, oh my God, here we go.
Well, we live in very interesting times, and disclosure, like you say, if it happens, really happens, it's history in the making that's going to change everything. Yeah.
In time, hopefully.
Yes. And that's where we will end this segment. And it was invigorating as always, powerful. I like that. And of course, Rochelle's like, love the dark humor. So she loves you. Oh yeah, she's so all about it. So everybody who has been listening in our audio listenership, thank you. Anybody who's been in the chat room and watching the show on the different platforms, we thank you as well. Big thank you to the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM from New Orleans. And big thank you to Folgers Coffee. Big thank you to Steve McGinnis. And a super big thank you to Steve Bassett. There we go. I took away my French flair. And
thank you, Madam. Thank you so
much. So anyway, thank you all. We'll see you tomorrow night as we welcome back Bruce Brown, 40 plus years in law enforcement and homeland security. And he's going to be talking about Bigfoot encounters. Anybody who's been following Bruce, he finds some pretty interesting stuff. And I have no doubt this is going to be just as awesome. So thank you all and good night.